Totally forgot to mute my mic. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else in between, of course, my they, them royalty. This is the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. I'm Ashton Jean Lewis. If you guys don't know, we will do a quick breakdown as soon as I shuffle some things around. I started the podcast before it was actually ready at the desk, which is like a typical thing for me. Here we go. We're working on something to get better sound quality than we had last week. Cords and wires everywhere. I did find a way to prop up my microphone, which is now too short to be in frame. You gotta love that, guys. Oh, wait, no. I take that back. It's not my microphone that's too short. It is... Anyway, it is my speaker, which you can't hear anymore, and you don't need to hear anymore either. Anyway, Broke Boy Sports Podcast. I'm Ashton Jean Lewis. I'm the host of the show. We only got one game to talk about today. I don't know if you guys have heard or not, but the NFL season is unfortunately going to be leaving us as of this upcoming Sunday, because it is the last Sunday, Super Sunday, if you will. We're currently still in Super Week. For me right now, it is February 6th on a Friday, 5:40 p.m. Central Time, coming to you live from parts unknown somewhere in Houston, Texas. Don't let the background deceive you. We'll be talking about all the stuff related to the NFL season. I'm just going to switch it over to the main view. Ooh, I hit 0 and it didn't work. We got other stuff to talk about. A lot of good stuff to talk about. And I'm going to be honest with you. Today's going to be a brain dump type of day because the game just seems a little too obvious for me to pick. Like, as a guy who's been watching football all season and is a fan of one of the teams that's in the Super Bowl, in case you couldn't tell, it's not just merch. You guys know this if you've been watching since week 1. I've been a Seattle Seahawks fan. I want to say since like 2020. I'm a Seattle Seahawks and Texans fan. Whatever you have to say about me being a fan of multiple NFL teams, I literally don't care. I have an explanation for why I am a Seahawks fan, and I feel like once you hear it to be pretty valid. But we're not diving into that today. What we are going to be doing is we're going to be addressing something that happened to me a couple of days ago. That kind of inspired what this episode is going to be kind of centered around. So, if you will, go along with me on a journey that will take under an hour, but a journey nonetheless. And I will start off by emphasizing where it originates from. Yes, that is a Tom Brady jersey. It is not signed. If you guys don't know, I have a new podcast studio, and it has a bunch of different angles in different places and stuff like that. And every single week so far, I found a new angle to record this podcast from, and I'll continue to do that because I feel like it's pretty fun for me to work on angles and lighting and stuff like that. I'm a black person, so I have to work on making sure that the bright lights don't get too bright because it will flush out my face and also create a glare on the screen and stuff like that. But first week I had to frame out is it only quarterbacks? No. So I'm in my uncle's man cave that he designed. It's fucking sick. It's just a bar. And I say just a bar, but like how many people have a bar in their fucking house or have a bar next to their house? A very, very small percentage of people. Anyway, as you can see, really nice woodwork behind me. And if you looked at previous episodes, there's a lot of other good woodwork there as well. He has a bunch of different jerseys. Almost every person who's not a Pittsburgh Steeler, every person who's not a Pittsburgh Steeler except Earl Campbell is a quarterback. So this Tom Brady jersey is intentional. Obviously, it has to do with the fact that I'm a Seahawks fan, right? Man, I really think I need to turn off my Turn off my ticker at the bottom. Anyway, whatever. I'm not doing that. Hopefully the camera can figure out how to focus this up. I am in the foreground and I'm the moving object, so hopefully it'll figure it out. But nonetheless, we got a Super Bowl to talk about, man. I'll say the words. You know, if the NFL wants to sue me, they can have all $5 that are in my bank account. This is the Broke Boy Sports Podcast. As you guys know, this is an elaborate scheme for me to figure out how to get corporations to pay me money to talk about sports so that I can keep doing it the way that I want to do it, not the way that they want it to be done. And then most importantly, you know, black excellence. Trying to figure out a way to turn this podcast into something, I guess, more than what it is right now. I'm having a ton of fun. I went from recording in my room at my house to now I record in a bar that has one patron as long as I'm in here, and I'm cool with that. So I'm having a great time. There's unlimited whiskey in here. Luckily enough, I do have some form of self-control despite my physique. Trust me, I do have some kind of self-control when it's all said and done. I do appreciate every person who checks into the show and tunes in every single week. Did get some people who came back after the break that I had after my friend passed away, which is cool with me. I do appreciate that. Yeah, man. Nothing too crazy. Let's talk. Let's get the show started. So we know the Super Bowl is set. It is week 2 of Super Week. I did watch the Pro Bowl because I wanted to be able to talk about what I knew it was going to be, which is terrible. There are some of the events that I didn't catch because apparently they still had the little side quest Mario Party events with like the tug of war and stuff like that. I just didn't see it. I did check out the flag football game. It was absolutely terrible. The defense didn't do anything. And so the quarterbacks were able to go out there and dime it up. We can sit here and have a long, extended conversation. And I have a friend of mine who I think sums it up pretty quickly, pretty succinctly. If I'm making $10 million, he said $30 million, but it's not a lot of dudes that are in the NFL making $30 million. And I think we go look at the guys who are playing in the Pro Bowl. There's not many of those dudes that are making $30 million a year. But if I'm making, over $1 million a year, you know what I'm not going to do? Risk getting hurt for $40,000. Which is crazy to say because, in the Pro Bowl, everybody gets paid regardless. And I think that goes a long way. Do I think we need to live in a place where all-star games matter again? That's a great question. Overall, I think the most significant all-star game for me personally, I love basketball to my heart's content. But the fact of the matter is, I know that I personally accept that I am never going to get an all-star game like my dad and my uncles had coming up, where the guys were actually going like full out and the salaries were a little bit closer to like normal people's yearly salaries and stuff like that. And because of that, I get what I get now, which is like 177 points in an all-star game, and the guys are not really trying. But I will objectively say, for the most part, all the superstars are healthy when it comes to the finals for most teams. I will say this last year, massive exception with Tyrese Halliburton tearing his Achilles in the finals, which is crazy just because it does not seem like that's super popping in the streets right now. You know what I mean? And I say that because tearing your Achilles has become a little too popular in the NBA overall. But for the most part, my biggest thing is the burden of my generation will be one of many burdens because I've experienced multiple recessions and we got the thing going on now. Plus, I will never get to see like a super crazy dunk contest featuring all the superstar players in the league. Because there's a random chance that one of them could roll their ankles and destroy the fact that they could earn generational wealth for their family. And if you're going to, and this is me personally, I take in note to this one, I'm never going to be the person that's trying to deny somebody their ability to go out there and make money because you're not getting paid millions of dollars for being the dude that dominated the dunk contest at the NBA All-Star game. You're getting paid millions of dollars, $20 million, $30 million, $40 million for being a role player on a good basketball team. And sometimes you're getting paid millions of dollars to be a good role player on a bad basketball team, right? But the fact of the matter is, it's the games that get you paid, not the All-Star game. And maybe once they start handing out $1 million checks, a couple $1 million checks for the All-Star game, they'll do a lot better in terms of attracting some effort from the players. But as of now, it is just an opportunity for your favorite athletes. And this is the thing. This is the one thing that I would love if it would happen. There are so many modern day athletes that don't even like drink or anything like that just because honestly, man, smoking weed is a lot better for you if you're a pro athlete to a certain degree. Or just like engaging in marijuana is probably better for you than drinking liquor and alcohol on a regular basis. It messes with your liver. It makes it difficult for you to lose and gain weight depending upon certain situations. It messes with your dietary situation in terms of like, you drink on a regular basis. It messes up your metabolism. You know what I mean? It makes it difficult for you to maintain and control your weight as an athlete, which is already tough as a whole because a lot of these guys, they get fined for however many pounds they are over or under the designated weight by the team, which is something we don't really talk about enough because I don't know. I question how good some of those weight estimations by professional athletes are. It does do stuff like prevent dudes who are playing defensive tackle from being like 450 pounds, all that kind of stuff like that. But you can also talk about how, muscle and body composition is different for each person and how they gain weight is different for each person as well. But when it's all said and done, that kind of stuff is important. That kind of stuff is important when it's all like in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, like the money's just not high enough for us to be able to get a good Pro Bowl ever again. And I think I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? I get really good football every single Saturday. Every single Sunday and Friday and Saturday and Monday and Tuesday and whatever day the league decides they're going to play games. I get really good football when I watch the NFL overall. There was an announcement that there are going to be international games going on. Did not designate when those days will be, but, new countries, the constant expansion of the game overall, and you know what that means? It just means more regular season games that I'm not going to be watching at 8 o'clock in the morning because I've already I said this on this podcast before, and I'll say it again. There's only one football player that I watch at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it is my little niece, and she plays soccer. So it's that football, not even American football. And that's okay with me, and I think it should be okay with pretty much everybody else in the mix as well because, you don't have to watch every single game. And the less you watch the international games, the less they will do them. That's just that's why NFL Europe doesn't exist anymore. People didn't watch the games. Other stuff to go along with it, man. I'm trying to think. The Olympics are happening, like currently right now, which is kind of wild. That, I guess the rest of the world is focused on it. But at the end of the day, here in America, everybody's focused on the Super Bowl coming up this Sunday, which is understandable because, for the most part, most of the people that you see at the Olympics, you probably won't remember their names about 2 months after this is all said and done. I know for one, there's a couple people that I've made an effort, like Layla Edwards, who's the first African-American woman to play for Team USA hockey at the Olympics and stuff like that. Super dope. Her boyfriend is in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. And then Lindsey Vonn, one of the craziest stories of all time, not only is she one of the most decorated skiing athletes in the history of American ski, but the fact of the matter is that she's now come back after tearing her ACL, I want to say like 7 years ago, and now she's torn it again, but that has not stopped her from competing in the Olympics, which is going to be interesting to see. I think there's a great opportunity to talk about how I learned a couple years ago, ACLs are about lateral movement and stuff like that. And there's actually, theoretically, you are able to play sports like hockey without an ACL. So Lindsay skiing, because she tore ACL skiing, has torn her ACL, I think it's 3 times in total. And all 3 have obviously been in her ski events and stuff like that. I think it was like ski slalom is where she tore it the last time, where she crashed like crazy hard. It was ridiculous, bro. Anyway, she's 41 years old. She's a 41-year-old woman who's been an elite athlete her entire life. And now she is competing at the Olympics against some of the best players, best skiers on the planet. From like the Netherlands area, Norway and stuff like that. And she's going to have to figure out a way to be able to beat them with only one ACL. What a story. What a time, what a place, what a time to be alive. One of the greatest possible sports stories ever. And then, of course, don't forget, everybody watches women's sports. So that's going to be fucking sick to check that out. Everything else that's going on, NBA trade deadline, guess what? This episode is not about that. I'm sorry to say. This episode is about the Super Bowl. I talked about the Olympics a little bit in a loosey-goosey kind of way because I really don't have too much to say outside of that. The other stuff that I do have to say is I will explain the premise of today's show quite simply. I have a friend who, I'm not sure if we're friends, but I have a friend and she was basically like, hey man, I don't really give a fuck about this year's Super Bowl. I don't know who to root for. I don't give a crap who to root for. And I told her like one story about one of the players who's in the Super Bowl currently. And I thought to myself like, yo man, you should find something about every single or about as many players as you possibly can that is absolutely crazy to say and then be like, this guy's playing in the Super Bowl. This guy went through all this and somehow ended up on the same roster as all these other people who've gone through all this other crazy shit to end up on the Super Bowl. And I think it's important, like, there's so many people who live in the world who only see football players, basketball players, and professional athletes as a form of some kind of entertainment, reminiscent of how they talked about how, people say they're modern day gladiators in the sense that the way people treat them is that they are a tool for entertainment. And as soon as they're not entertaining anymore, they should die and go off into the distance or whatever. I don't think that. I think every single person, and I say this on this podcast as often as I possibly can, there's no such thing as a normal path to becoming a professional athlete. There's not a single person who had like some straight line. Even the 5-star superstar guys who talk about from the get-go, they don't have like a straight path to superstardom, right? Like even one of the most iconic athletes in the history of America, Michael Jordan, his big go-to story that everybody talks about all the time is that he got cut from his varsity high school basketball team 3 times. I was told that my first day of varsity high school basketball in my high school. And I think every athlete ever is told that similar story. You talk about like LeBron James and stuff like that, like doesn't really have like a relationship with his dad and stuff like that, and where he's come from in terms of like being able to have a group of friends that he has known since they were like before middle school that have now become all successful individual human beings in their own right, besides the fact that they know LeBron James. Truly amazing, astounding to be surrounded by that many people who work that hard. And there are a lot of athletes professionally that fall into that category because, like I said, there's no normal path to becoming a pro athlete. I've talked about this before. Actually, I have not talked about this before. I was listening to Sirius XM because I pay for it, so it plays in my mom's car. Man, this is a dumb story to tell, but I'll tell it anyway. My mom's radio in her 2016 Jeep Patriot went out like 2 years ago. And so she was like driving around in the car with her headphones on, listening to music on her phone. And then I was like, this was like a couple months and I didn't realize that the radio had gone out. And what it turned out to be was just like, oh, like I can just buy Sirius XM radio and she'll be able to listen to any station she wants to that is better than the stations that are on the radio stations she normally listens to or whatever. And so I've been paying for that for 2 years. Crazy work. But nonetheless, I think it's like the best $36 I spend a month because it does bring joy to my mom, who I love a lot. Anyway, I was listening to Sirius XM in her car, Mad Dog Radio, hosted by Mad Dog Caruso, who, if you don't know, if you're a person, I guess, like under the age of 40, he's basically like one of the founding fathers of like why sports radio is so major across America and how like the sports industry leaped off into what it is now overall. So he's like a huge part. He's been on ESPN before, which is like a big deal that they were able to get Caruso to come off his radio show, to come on to ESPN and do some hits on First Take and stuff like that. I will say this, if you are a person of color who has the typical inclination of people of color, he's not necessarily like your kind of guy, but he does have an entire radio station dedicated to people that he thinks are cool. One of those people, for me personally, is Katie Nolan. I love every single pod that she's ever had in her iteration of being a broadcaster. Right now, she has a show called Casuals, which is a really cool concept of she teaches people, or like her podcast is centered around talking about sports for people who don't know anything about sports and for people who do know something about it, which is difficult because there's so many times, and I think because Katie is a woman in sports, she knows what it's like to be the person that the dudes are constantly trying to be like, you're fake, you're a phony, you're a fraud, because you don't know the blood type of the 1992 Heisman Trophy winner, right? Which is what dudes used to do to women back in the day. Cannot say that I wasn't that kind of guy. I used to do that about Pokemon to my cousin all the time. Will not say that I did it to like women in general, but I did do it to my cousin. And as time has gone on, we all grow up and we're mature. Some of us, at least, some of us get better at it, and we move forward. But on Mad Dog Radio, they were talking to Mad Dog was talking to Mike Tirico, the Italian stallion, as Bomani Jones likes to call him. But he was talking to Mike Tirico, and Mike Tirico said something that I thought was really fucking weird. He's just like, there's no stars in this game. There's no Travis Kelce. There's no Patrick Mahomes. Nobody really knows anything about these players. And I was like, you're right, Mike. Nobody really knows anything about the players on these teams. So you know what I did? I went and found as many crazy facts about players that are on each one of these teams to let you know. You as the viewer of this show and a person who took some time out of their day to listen to my podcast, whether it be for 15 minutes or 20 seconds or whatever it may be, I appreciate it nonetheless. Obviously, I appreciate the people who listen from beginning to the end of the show, because it does help me, in my goal of furthering my Ponzi scheme, which is this podcast. But anyway, we take it from the top. Every single player on the Seahawks and the Patriots that I could find a crazy story or an interesting story about that gives you a little glimpse into the people who are stepping onto the field and some of the people who aren't stepping onto the field. Like, I looked at stuff for guys who are like, bench warmers and practice squad players and stuff like that as well. But if you hear the name being called, hopefully you'll hearken back to this moment where you listen to the Broke Boy talk about how a long time ago, 20, 30, 40 years ago 30 years ago for some of these players, they were just playing Little League football. Now they're playing on the biggest stage on the planet in terms of the Super Bowl. So Mike Vrabel, who is the head coach of the New England Patriots. We're going to start with the Patriots, then we're going to go to the Seahawks, obviously. Save the best for last. Anyway, Mike Vrabel is currently tied, which, by the way, Mike Vrabel's been the head coach of the New England Patriots for 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. He is second all-time in playoff wins for the New England Patriots. And this was just my time and my moment to be like, hey, man, there was that time for like 20 years where it felt like the Patriots were unfucking stoppable, because they were. They literally had like the football gods and maybe some, other stuff smile down upon them and grant them Deus Machina, which is like the hand of God, right? Which is like it's like a film concept where, like, when things are looking bleak and dark for the main character, all of a sudden something magically random happens that allows them to win the fight when it's all said and done. And it feels like that's happened for the Patriots so many times over. And I'd like to hope that on Sunday it doesn't. But there's, in the back of my mind, as a Seahawks fan, I can't help but think it all looks just a little too easy. But we'll talk about the breakdown of the game at the end of this. Mike Vrabel is currently tied for second all-time in playoff wins for the New England Patriots, because Bill Belichick has 30 wins. I think it's 31 wins as the head coach of the New England Patriots in terms of the playoffs. And Mike Vrabel has 3. He's tied with, I didn't write his name down on here. He's tied with another coach that I literally had never heard of until I looked at the playoff win record for the New England Patriots. So yeah, 3 will get you a second all time. Just a glimpse of like how 20 years of being really dominant will erase everything before when people were Patriots fans. If he wins the Super Bowl, he will be in standalone second because he will have 4 playoff wins. He will also be the only He will also be the only Patriots coach to be undefeated in the playoffs at the same rate. So he currently has the most playoff wins without a playoff loss, because the guy he's tied with for second is 3-2 in the playoffs. But yeah, Bill has 30 playoff wins. I had that one. Terrell Williams, who is the defensive coordinator for who started out the season as a defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, is was currently fighting an extremely aggressive cancer in his body, and throughout the course of the regular season, he is now healthy enough, and I think he's in remission, that he's actually he's in San Francisco for the Super Bowl. Don't know if he's going to be coaching or anything like that, but he is there for the Super Bowl. Milton Williams is going for the ultra rare back-to-back Super Bowls with two different teams. He is trying to pull the reverse Chris Long and LeGarrette Blount. Obviously, a lot of people will call it the reverse Chris Long on the internet because Chris Long is white. And on top of that, he is also significantly more recognizable than LeGarrette Blount, who, for some of us, a long time, the most iconic moment for LeGarrette Blount was that time he punched that dude in the end zone when he was at Oregon in college. But yeah, Milton Williams, who was on the Eagles last season, was a huge part of why they won the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs in a blowout fashion, is now competing with the Patriots to go for a back-to-back Super Bowl, and is probably one of the few reasons why I would actually be okay with the Patriots beating the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday. Other than that, I'd be pretty fucking pissed off. 64 players have won the Super Bowl with two different teams. Milton Williams would be 65th, and then back-to-back would be even rarer, because I think there's only been back-to-back there's only been 5 or something like that. I didn't write it down. DeMarcus Lawrence is the most experienced player for the Seahawks. He has 12 years in the NFL. That's the other thing, too. A lot of the players who are on both of these teams are really stupid young. So there are 4 players on the Seahawks roster that have been playing for a decade. It's Dexter Lawrence. I'm sorry, it's DeMarcus Lawrence. I said DeMarcus Lawrence is the most experienced Seahawks player. 3 other players. Leonard Williams has 10 years when he played with the Jets and the Giants, and then he got traded to the Seahawks. Jason Myers, who is 34 years old. He's the oldest player on the roster by age 34. Which is not that old at all as a person who's 33. And then Jaron Reed, who's got 10 years in the league as well. Morgan Moses is the oldest by age and experience so far in the Super Bowl so far. He's 34 years old. And he also has 12 seasons in the NFL. So DeMarcus Lawrence is younger, but with the same amount of experience as Morgan Moses. That's what happens with 1 or 2 years difference in terms of when you graduated from college will do. But Stephon Diggs is the second oldest player on the New England Patriots, which is crazy to think about, because I think when people think of Stephon Diggs, they don't think of a person who's old, but he's the second oldest in age by any New England Patriots standard. And I think we also need to bring up the point that Stephon Diggs has that iconic photo that is clearly going to be a huge part of leading up to the Super Bowl, has been a huge part of leading up to the Super Bowl, when he was playing with the Buffalo Bills and he lost in dramatic fashion with 13 seconds left, and the Chiefs tied the game up, and then the Chiefs were able to beat the Bills in overtime to go to the Super Bowl, and Stephon Diggs chose to stay on the field and watch the Chiefs celebrate winning the AFC. Stephon Diggs has now gotten his revenge. He won the AFC while the Chiefs were at home watching him on TV. So that was pretty cool. And Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry both are they're the other 2 players. Austin Hooper is got 10 years. Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry have 10 years of experience. They're 3rd and 4th oldest on the New England Patriots roster. They are absolutely insane as athletes in general. They play multiple sports and stuff like that. The youngest player for both teams, between both teams, is Nick Emanwari, who actually rolled his ankle in Super Bowl practice earlier this week. Nick is 21, if I'm not mistaken. And then the second youngest is Will Campbell, who is the star left tackle for the New England Patriots. So random stuff about each one of the players on both teams. This is all New England Patriots players. Give you a little bit more investment in some of these guys. Julian Ashby, he's the father. His father is an ex-professional tennis player. He played QB and then he transferred to becoming a long snapper in college, which I can't imagine how tough that conversation must have been. Like, you go into the office one day and they're like, hey, bro. They don't try and get you to convert to tight end like they do every other quarterback. They're like, hey, man, maybe we think about long snapping, you know? You know what I mean? He played 3 years at FCS, and then he transferred to Vandy. He was the long snapper for Vanderbilt when they made the massive turnaround to make, like, literally the greatest Vanderbilt Commodore season in the history of the school. And then he won the Patrick Manley Award, which I learned a couple days ago is the award that they give to the long snappers. Every single position in college football has some kind of award that is named after the best player at that position 50 years ago, and they have like a huge banquet and all that kind of stuff like that. I remember I used to watch on AT&T Sports, and I think it was also on Fox Sports as well. They used to have like this whole package where they would like have you jump from award to award show to award show, and like each one of them has like their own different dress code. Like some of the ones that are down south, like they give them like a custom cowboy hat and all that kind of stuff like that. I always found that pretty entertaining. But the Patrick Manley Award is apparently the best long snapper in college football award, and Julian Ashby, the long snapper for the Patriots, has won that. Moving on, Andy Borregales is Andrew Borregales. He's the kicker for the New England Patriots. He's the one who has that crazy font on the back of his jersey. It's extra small because of how long his name is in comparison to other players in the NFL. He also has an insane number. I think it's like 37 or something like that. Plus, he wears a towel and a sleeve, and he is just a kicker. The other wild part is when Andy was born, he was born in Caracas, Venezuela. I would love to hear Andy's thoughts on what's currently happening in Venezuela based off of the recent events. You know what I mean? And the crazy part is Andy Borregales is the fourth Venezuelan-born player to ever make it to the NFL and compete in the NFL. His brother, Jose Borregales, is the third. They both went to the University of Miami, and Andy was so good as a freshman. He was a true freshman kicker for the University of Miami. He was 1 year away from being able to play because he was a rookie. He's a rookie this season, so he was like 1 year away from like Miami making it back to the national championship game. Pretty brutal, but that is how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But he is the fourth-born Venezuelan player in NFL history, and his brother is third, which is kind of crazy, really cool, not going to lie. Marcus Bryant, I literally put his name on this list because he is from Round Rock, Texas. He went to Cedar Ridge High School. For all my fellow Texans out there, you know Round Rock is basically a suburb of Austin, but kind of not at the same time. But it is. Round Rock is where Marcus Bryant, an offensive lineman for the Patriots, is from. He went to Cedar Ridge, which is a part of a very expensive school district near Austin. Here we go. Eftham Chisholm, his hometown, and this is one of my favorite ones, bro. I can't even lie about this. This is kind of crazy. Eftham Chisholm the third. Eftham Chisholm the third, ladies and gentlemen. He is his hometown is Kirkland, Washington. Yes, that name sounds eerily familiar. We'll talk about that a little bit later. He is from the original headquarters of where the Seahawks, when they first were founded, actually located their main building at. That's how close it is to Seattle, right? That's how close his hometown is to Seattle. By the way, Eftham Chisholm III, a New England Patriots player, and you get where I'm going with this a little bit. He is from the OG headquarters home of the Seattle Seahawks, and yes, Kirkland, Washington is where Costco was originally founded and had their headquarters at. And that's why they have Kirkland's signature. So we all learned something just now. I really enjoyed learning that as well. He went to Eastern Washington, which is where Cooper Kupp and Kendrick Bourne went to. Cooper Kupp, wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, and Kendrick Bourne, wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. Crazy enough. But yeah, to have like three dudes who all went to that same really small college and two of them be playing in the Super Bowl against each other is kind of crazy. Trevion Henderson, five-star recruit straight out of high school. He won the national championship last year, and I would love to know the numbers on guys who went from winning the national championship the year before to winning the Super Bowl their rookie season in the NFL, which would be kind of crazy. But Trevion Henderson has a chance to be able to pull that off. He's the starting running back for the New England Patriots. Kobe Minor, he is from, I have him on here because he's from Texas. He's from Corinth, Texas. If you guys know what side of Texas that is, let me know in the comments. I honestly don't, off the top of my head. Anyway, he played 3 years at Texas Tech. He's actually, and I remember the other reason I put him on this list, Kobe Minor, he is from Corinth, Texas. He also holds the title for the most schools attended by any person in the Super Bowl this year. We've been talking about the transfer portal as this season has gone on in college football. Kobe Minor has actually attended 3 different colleges prior to his NFL career. He went to Texas Tech, Indiana University, and Memphis, who are all 3 pretty prominent schools now within the NIL era, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, now he's an NFL player, and he's competing to play in the Super Bowl. It's pretty crazy. Kyle Williams, I have him on here because he went to 3 different high schools. He went to 3 different high schools in his area, which is kind of wild and puts him in a rare category. But yeah, not many dudes go to 3 different high schools, find a way to play college football, and then make their way to the NFL. Craig Woodson, another Patriots player, he's from Grand Prairie, Texas, and he went to South Grand Prairie, which is the smaller of the 2 schools in Grand Prairie, Texas. So I have every single player who's from Texas listed on this list. Anyway, yeah. Corey Durden, 27 years old. He already has 2 kids, and he has 1 year of NFL experience. So Corey, and this is everybody who's at home, and if you're old enough to understand like how college works, Corey spent the most amount of time in college possible. Plus, he started college. I think he was 19 years old when he started college. So it's his birthday plus the most amount of, I think he went to school for 5 years. And he was drafted in 2023, and he's been bouncing around on practice squads and stuff like that. But he turned 26 in the middle of his rookie season. So he's 27 years old right now with 2 kids, and he has 1 year of experience. So crazy timing how that works out. Like the kids who have I don't know what the cutoff date is, but you know what it is. It's the kids who end up having to be like, oh, I'm the age of the people who are 1 grade above us, but my birthday is the reason that I'm in the grade below where I'm supposed to be. I didn't fail a grade or anything like that. But yeah, whatever. That's how that goes. Jack Westover, which is a pretty fullbacky type of name, and he is a fullback. His hometown is 30 minutes away from Seattle. He's a New England Patriots player. He was a UDFA who signed with the hometown team out of the NFL draft. He was a tight end who got converted to fullback. His sister, and this is one of the wildest stories probably, but I know everybody's like kind of anti-gambling right now and everything like that. I totally understand it because, some people don't have self-control, but it seems like Jack Westover's sister has some self-control because she bet $5 at the beginning of the season because her brother ended up on the Patriots roster that the Patriots would make it to the Super Bowl, and it cashed out for $18,000. She has a second kid currently on the way, and I think $18,000 is going to go a long way. Anyway, Drake May, obviously Drake May, is a huge part of why the Patriots have been so successful this season. Crazy stuff about him. He won the ACC award for Best Freshman Player, and didn't know this until I looked this up. That award is named the Sean Alexander Award. If you don't know who Sean Alexander is, he's the best, I'll say it, he's the best running back in Seattle Seahawks history. Like, what are the chances? So weird. But yeah, that's crazy. Anyway, also didn't know this. I'm sure other people didn't know this. Drake May's brothers, Luke and Cole, both won a natty with the UNC basketball team. And if you don't know anything about Drake May actually attended University of North Carolina as a quarterback. A lot of people are actually down on him because he was basically the heir apparent to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was really good in college when he was playing for North Carolina, and Drake May came in after him. And because of what Daniel Jones was at the time, a lot of people were like, "Oh, Drake May's just like another, smoke and mirrors type of illusion. He looks good in college. He's going to be terrible in the pros." Turns out they're both pretty good. The last time he went to the Super Bowl, this is Drake May still, the last time Drake May went to the Super Bowl was Super Bowl 50 to watch his Carolina Panthers in Levi Stadium. So, like, the last time he was at Levi Stadium, he was a fan, and on Sunday, he's going to be playing in the damn game. Crazy how life works. If you guys don't know, Drake Mason from North Carolina, he's a huge fan of Cam Newton, and Cam Newton has absolutely destroyed any possible relationship with Drake May as of now because, stuff. Look it up yourself. I don't really have time to go into it and delve into it. But that is crazy. Drake May has won an award named after a legendary Seattle Seahawks player in Shaun Alexander. And the last time, he actually is one of the few people who was able to go to a Super Bowl as like a regular person and not a corporate entity. And he was a fan watching his Carolina Panthers play at Levi Stadium, which is where the Super Bowl is being hosted this year. And then on Sunday, in a couple days, he'll be just playing in it. No big deal. No big deal. Second year in the NFL. Crazy work, bro. Charles Woodson, he's from Dallas, Texas. He is one of the players on this entire lineup because I think Milton Williams is the lowest rated recruit between both of the two teams. He was a 0-star recruit, which I didn't even think was possible because 1-star recruit is technically not possible by some ratings. But anyway, Charles Woods he's from Dallas, Texas. He was a 0-star recruit coming out, which means that he probably just didn't go to any of the camps and got offers from colleges and stuff like that. Another New England Patriots player, Alex Austin, he went to Long Beach Poly, and you know what that means. He went to Long Beach Poly. If you don't know, Long Beach Poly is the high school that Cameron Diaz and just as famously, if not more, Snoop Dogg went to. And because of Snoop Dogg's great generosity in his heart and his appreciation for the black community in the Long Beach area, he actually sponsors and pays for a football league, like a little league football league that has produced like 50 NFL players. And you guessed it, Alex Austin is one of those guys. Yes, Alex Austin is this year's Long Beach Poly football player from Snoop Dogg's Little League football team. And there will be many more because I don't foresee him stopping paying for that league anytime soon, even probably after he's long gone. Snoop Dogg will probably find a way to make sure that league is funded because, like I said before, it's produced like 50 NFL players. Anyway, the other stuff that's kind of crazy to go along with this one, Alex Austin grew up with another guy who used to be a New England Patriots player. His name is Jack Jones, and they both grew up knowing Willie McGinnis. If you don't know who Willie McGinnis is, don't worry. Alex Austin knows him very closely. He calls him Uncle. Willie McGinnis is one of the greatest Patriots players of all time and is a three-time Super Bowl champion for the Patriots, and he just so happens to know this random kid named Alex Austin who now plays and got drafted by the Patriots to play in the Super Bowl, and it's just kind of crazy how it's just like the lines connecting themselves. Snoop Dogg, Willie McGinnis both know Alex Austin, and on Sunday he's competing for the Super Bowl. Anyway, Bryce Behringer, he was a red shirt at Illinois, was committed to Southern Illinois, asked out of his commitment to be a preferred walk-on. By the way, Bryce Behringer, a punter for the New England Patriots. He transferred to Michigan State to be a student, stopped playing football. The Michigan State football staff found him, and they asked him to come out to 2 different Michigan State tryouts. They did not sign him after either one of those, but then both Michigan State punters got hurt. They go down throughout the course of the season. They sign Bryce Behringer to be their new punter. He punts all season. Then Michigan State recruits 2 more punters over Bryce Behringer. He gets cut. He keeps punting like in his private time and stuff like that to work on his skill. And then one of the guys who is recruited over Bryce leaves Michigan State. He comes back, competes with the other guy that was recruited over him, wins the punting job, and he finishes his college career as the number 1 punting prospect in the NFL draft that he was taken in. Crazy path, especially considering it led him to competing for the Super Bowl on Sunday. So, wild stuff. Kayshon Boutte, I think we all know where this is going. I'm not going to talk about the other thing. I'm going to talk about the thing that is on the record. Not going to be talking about the Super Smash Bros. Part of this. Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver for the New England Patriots, who in his college career was busted for underage, was charged with underage gambling, right? He was not 18, or I'm sorry, he's not 21 years old, and so he was gambling, and there's a lot of reports out there about it being like thousands of different bets that he set, some of them on LSU in different games and stuff like that. And Kayshon Boutte has been able to, by his own recollection from the Players Tribune, which is a website where players get to write letters or articles from their own perspective, either with the help of a ghostwriter or with their own words about struggles that they've overcome. And I used to read it on a regular basis. I need to get back to doing that. But Kayshon Boutte wrote an article after he was drafted about how he definitely used to have a problem with gambling, and he's doing a lot better now, which is great, especially considering, I'm going to tell you this right now, some weird shit happens with Kayshon Boutte in the Super Bowl. NFL radio is going to be all over it. There's also a rumor, and this is like an unsubstantiated rumor by any stretch of the imagination. There's literally no evidence for it whatsoever. It started off in like some message board, and it kind of caught fire with a bunch of people because I think it just sounds crazy that Kayshon Boutte was like engaging in group adult time with different people, so including a recruiter who was also female. And that everybody got fired, and Kayshon Boutte got like booted off the team, and that's why he ended up going into the draft after saying that he was coming back to LSU. But there's like no evidence to substantiate it, other than the fact that the recruiters that are accused and the assistant are all fired. But that could have been for any reason. I just want to address it. I'm not like some big time media entity or anything like that. This is all alleged stuff that never happened, as far as I know, because there's no evidence to corroborate it, but it is stuff that is written about on the internet. Ben Brown, who is an offensive lineman, Ben Brown is an offensive lineman for the Patriots, if I recall correctly. He got cut 3 different times. He's a UDFA to the Patriots. He is a second generation NFL player. His grandfather played and won Super Bowl number 1 and Super Bowl number 2. He played for the Packers. In case you couldn't piece it together, the Packers are like a super dynasty when they first started off with Vince Lombardi. But yeah, Ben Brown, he signed as a UDFA to the Patriots. He got cut 3 different times and eventually made his way back to New England. He's a second-generation NFL player. He is a third-generation Ole Miss Rebel. He has 7 people before him and his family that played sports for Ole Miss, including all of his brothers. And the only person in his family that has not played for Ole Miss sports-wise is his mom. And I'm assuming that she was a student at Ole Miss when she met his dad. His grandfather was Alan Brown, who was actually such a badass when he played football. He actually has a day named after him in his hometown in Mississippi. He dislocated his shoulder in his first NFL season, and then in his second NFL season, he ruptured his kidneys. The most old school NFL injury possible. He ruptured his kidneys, and then after that, he said, you know what? Maybe professional football is not for me, bro. Not for me, dog. Ben Brown, cut 3 different times, second generation NFL player. His grandfather won Super Bowl number 1 and Super Bowl number 2. He did dislocate his shoulder and rupture his kidneys in the 2 seasons he played in the NFL. And I will say, you go 2 for 2 playing in a league and you win the Super Bowl both times, that's a good way to walk away. You know what I mean? Like, he ruptured his kidneys, but he got that ring when it was all said and done. At least I hope so. Back in the day, I don't know if they give a ring to everybody, regardless of like if you got hurt or not. But whatever. Shout out to him. Crazy stuff. Also have to assume certain things about a person that has lived in Mississippi for that long of a period of time. But I'm not going to bring that up on this podcast. We're supposed to be having fun. Demario Pop Douglas. A lot of people have been talking about Pop Douglas, Demario Douglas, this entire season because this has basically been like his biggest year in the NFL in his career so far. He played high school football with somebody we may be familiar with, because he's still in college. Carson Beck. He played Demario Pop Douglas, I think is in his... Yeah, let's do it. Let's just do it live. How many years has Demario Douglas been in the NFL? Well, Demario Douglas has been in the NFL. Hold on, clicking on it. Scrolling through the depth chart. I have it pulled up here on the side. Sorry, guys, it takes me a while. Yeah, he's technically a second string wide receiver. That's crazy. He's their slot wide receiver because he's like 5'9", 5'8", on a good day. He went to Liberty, which is crazy. But yeah, Demario Douglas has played in the NFL. Hold on. I'm trying to find it. Multiple seasons, just so we're all clear.
Right now, this season.
Ignore that. I don't know what that is. Still trying to find it. This is This is Demario Douglas's third season in the NFL. And his fellow high school teammate, Carson Beck, just finished what has to be his final year as an as a college football quarterback. He's not even taking classes anymore in college, and he played college football this past year. So, which is by his own admission, by the way. I'm not accusing him of that. He literally said that to a reporter during the national championship or pregame to the national championship game. He's listed at 5'8", which I had to imagine means that he's like 5'6" or 5'7" or something like that. Somehow he is from Florida, a black person, and picked to go to Liberty on purpose. He did have offers from other schools. Crazy work. His childhood friend is Terrell Jennings, and you're probably wondering, Ashton, why did you just mention this guy's random childhood friend? It's because Terrell Jennings plays for the Patriots too, bro. Him and his bro went to two different colleges, and then they met each other again in the NFL, and now they're both millionaires. Crazy shit. By the way, if you've ever wondered why Demario is nicknamed Pop, Pop is his nickname for his grandfather. Demario Douglas was born the same day that his grandfather died. And so they nicknamed him Pop, which is crazy. So, really sad, but also cool at the same time. Moving on, Jack Gibbons. He's from Bulverde, Texas, which is just outside of I say outside of San Antonio, but based off the distance that it's from San Antonio, this is just a suburb of San Antonio. So, the population is 5,000 people, which makes me think that it is just a suburb of San Antonio, because there's suburbs of Houston that have like 5 times the amount of people that Bulverde does. But he was initially on the Titans roster, and he clearly is somebody. He's a linebacker that clearly Mike Vrabel likes a lot. He signed with the Pats this past year. His nickname is Dr. Gibby because of how high his football IQ is, according to Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel says he's like really good at answering all the questions that he asks. Moving on, Christian Gonzalez, one of the crazier stories in football just in general, because there's a very real chance that Christian Gonzalez is a Hall of Famer. But I will say this, crazy lineage. If you guys don't know it, I am going to recount it. If you do know it, don't tell everybody else in the class. His sister is an Olympic hurdler for Colombia, who is also from El Paso. Her husband is David Blau, the guy who was like interviewing for NFL head coaching jobs this past cycle. His other sister is just like Melissa. She was a 2-time All-American in track. Both of them went to Miami. Christian Gonzalez did not. Christian grew up in Carlton, Texas, which is a big high school football area type deal. He went to the Colony, which is one of the suburbs of Dallas. It's in one of the suburbs of Dallas. He's the first player of Colombian heritage to score a touchdown and to play in the Super Bowl. Pretty dope. His dad is an college basketball player. He's like 6'9" or something like that. His dad's name is Hector Gonzalez. He played basketball at UTEP El Paso, which pretty cool, man. But yeah, Christian Gonzalez, one of the coolest stories, as always, when it comes to NFL football. It was a big deal when he was drafted because he's one of the few Colombian-born players who's ever been drafted. Colombian heritage players who's ever been drafted. And then his entire family is just like crazy athletic. Got to assume they get it from their mama. But yeah, that's just how it goes. Moving on, Christian Ellis. I said Christian Gonzalez is one of the crazier stories. Christian Ellis is pretty wild. So I'm actually going to take a drink before I tell Christian Ellis' story because that's how big a deal it is. Christian Ellis is a linebacker for the Patriots. His dad, his name is Luther Ellis. He went to Utah. He was a Utah Ute. And then he was an NFL defensive tackle for the Detroit Lions. Now, Luther Ellis has 4 sons. And I think you know where I'm going with this. And yes, it is that. All 4 of them are in the NFL right now. Christian Ellis, he is the brother of Caden Ellis, which some of you may be familiar with from the Atlanta Falcons. He's a really good defender, really good linebacker overall. And then he beat his brother Jonah Ellis to go to the Super Bowl. Christian didn't beat his brother, but Jonah Ellis was playing for the Broncos. He's actually the highest drafted out of the 4 brothers. And then 3 of the brothers all went to Idaho because their dad was the D-line coach at Idaho. By the way, the head coach of Idaho football, apparently the head coach of the Vandals, which is the mascot for Idaho, is Paul Petrino. And yes, that last name is familiar because, you guessed it, his brother is Bobby Petrino Jr. So, crazy connections on that one. By the way, Jonah, who is the youngest, did not go to Idaho. He went to his dad's alma mater. He went to Utah. So, crazy work. 4 kids. All in the NFL, all doing their thing, all popping off, bro. Crazy work on the part of Luther Ellis and his wife. Obviously, his wife did all the work in terms of giving birth to her sons, but just the training from Luther Ellis must be amazing. But yeah, 4 kids, 4 NFL players. And then 2 of them face off against each other for a chance to go to the Super Bowl, which is something their dad never got a chance to compete for. And now Christian Ellis has a chance to go out there and win the whole thing. So that's pretty dope. Marcus Jones, who has been the superstar defensive back for the New England Patriots all season, he won one of the coolest awards that I found when it came to looking up like the college football awards. He won the Jet Award. It is the top returner in college football, and the trophy is insane, bro. The trophy is literally somebody stiff-arming a person while they're on a kick return. So, like, they have the ball in their hand, the person is falling on the ground. This is all on the trophy. Person with the ball in their hand running, hand extend backwards, and the person behind them is, like, falling face down into the ground. Look it up, the Jet Award. The trophy is for the top returner in college football, and it's pretty sick. He has that. He's also like set the record for like pretty much every punt returner possible in New England Patriots history. Moving on, Chad Mumma, who is a player for the Patriots, like I mentioned before. He went to probably the coolest named high school ever. He went to Legend High School. The mascot is the Titans. And then the school motto is Iron Sharpens Iron. Crazy work. His high school has existed for like 18 years, and they have produced Chad Mumma, who is a NFL player, and Derek White, randomly enough, also went to Legend High School. Derek White, yes, Olympic champion Derek White, and Boston Celtics guard Derek White went to Legend High School. He is a type 1 diabetic and has been since like 7th grade. And apparently in 7th grade, he lost like 30 pounds within like a couple of months. And they were like, what the hell's going on? They figured that he has diabetes. He's been, that's important in terms of like representation overall. There's a lot of people who struggle with diabetes every single day. And it's important to show that, you can live the life you want to, or live a life that you aspire to live a life that you want to with type 1 diabetes, which is real tough to overcome on a regular basis. But Chad Mumma's out there doing it. Doesn't mean that everybody's got to go out there and compete for the Super Bowl on Sunday, but it's definitely an inspiration to people who maybe think that when they get diagnosed that their whole life is over. He broke his, and this is in high school, he broke his clavicle and he tore his patella, which is crazy to say for a high schooler that you tore your patella. But yeah, he is also a 3rd-generation Wyoming cowboy. Wyoming is the school that Josh Allen went to, and so did Chad Mumma's grandfather and dad played football for Wyoming, and that's why he picked it. So, he's on the Patriots because Mike Vrabel has played against him a bunch. He was on the Jags, the Colts as well in the time that he spent kind of moving around the league, and it has to be because Mike Vrabel saw that guy and he was like, that guy's pretty good at playing linebacker. Apparently, Chad got his car stolen at one point, and the cops found it with the keys inside of it and also all of his football equipment in it. Kind of crazy. And, that's wild. That's Chad Mumma. Anyway, moving on. Thayer Munford Jr. I know that's a big mouthful for people to say, but he might be the new Blindside. Like Disney might be buying discovery rights on his story here pretty soon. His mom gave up legal guardianship of him when he was going into his senior year of high school football, and he was to his football. She gave up legal guardianship to him in his senior year of high school football in Ohio. And then that was to help him kind of like figure out his grade situation and make sure that he was going to be in a position where he could actually get into the high-level schools that were trying to recruit him. And he ended up being deemed ineligible and for a little while because he moved for what in Texas, what happens is like if they figure out that you moved for like competitive reasons for you to go to like a better high school or whatever, they deem you ineligible until you have like a hearing. And this is what happened with Thayer Munford as well. He was able to convince the governing body for high school football or high school sports in Ohio that it was for good reason. And then he went on to play in like 3 different games, and then he went to Ohio State. No big deal. He went to Ohio State, and he was told that he was going to be somewhere around the 2nd or 3rd round, and he ended up being selected in the 7th round, which is crazy drops. You hear stories like this all the time where like guys pay the money, or like not guys, the school pays the money for a guy to get like an estimation of where his draft prospects are going to be in terms of like NFL GMs and stuff like that. And that's what helps guys determine whether or not they're going to forego their senior season. And if not, or if they're going to stay in college and stuff like that. He was told in the evaluation process, and I'm going to be honest, I found some other stuff where it said that he was supposed to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick after he declared for the draft. And he ended up being selected in the 7th. After he was selected, he was so excited he actually broke the couch in his house. But it's all good. He got the money. He got the bread to pay for it now. He can buy you 20 couches, baby. Anyway, he's a Patriots player because remember Josh McDaniels? He's the offensive coordinator for the Patriots this year. He used to be the head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders a couple years ago, and then they fired him in the middle of the night. This is one of the few draft picks that Josh McDaniels made as a head coach of the Raiders. So Thayer Munford is one of those guys. So moving on, Christian Barrymore. He is from Philadelphia, which has got to be super cool. Originally committed to Temple his senior year of high school. He committed to Temple going into his senior year of high school, and his senior season went so well that he ended up committing to Alabama. Wild progress to make in a singular year. In 2024, he was diagnosed with recurring blood clots. Crazy shit, bro. Like, if you guys don't know, recurring blood clots is the kind of stuff that kills people because it obviously, if the clots work their way into your heart, it prevents your heart from being able to actually like pass blood and stuff like that. He missed most of the 2024 season. He also, and this is not to inspire you to watch the game or anything like that, is just to be on the up and up. I do have to mention that earlier this season, he was called out for, or he was accused of domestic violence by somebody in his family for like strangulation, and then for also like kidnapping, which I think involved like taking that person's phone. He was accused of that. And the crazy part is, regardless of what happens on Sunday, he got court the next week. And this is the same thing for Stephon Diggs. So Stephon Diggs has court for his case. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. He has court for his case the day before Valentine's Day. Moving on, Ramondre Stevenson wasn't eligible to play at a 4-year college because his grades were so bad, and so he had to end up working at Walmart. He ended up working at Walmart and Jimmy John's, and then he went to a community college called Cerritos, and off of just the strength of 2 seasons there, he was able to transfer to OU, and after that, he was able to go and become a 4th-round draft pick. Crazy work, bro. Crazy work in progress. So going from working at Walmart to competing for the Super Bowl on Sunday. Pretty good. Not everybody at Walmart is going to be competing for the Super Bowl on Sunday. Curious Tonga, who I put him on this list for, I wouldn't say a messed up reason. I put him on this list for the truth. There is a direct pipeline that I would love to see. There is a pipeline that I would love to see cut off at some point. BYU to Samoa. BYU to Tonga. I would love that pipeline to be cut off. But there are a lot of Tongans who are also Mormon, and Curious Tonga is one of those guys. He has been playing in the NFL for 5 years, which typically if you go through all of your college career, you start off at 18, you go 18, 19, 20, 21, right? You get into the NFL at like 21, 22, and when you are in your 5th season from being, even if you went for all 4 years, when you're 22, you add 5 to it, you're supposed to be 27. Curious Tonga is 29 currently because he spent 2 years on mission in Wichita, Kansas, which is the pathway that BYU gets to having a team where like most of the guys on their team are 2 years older than the dudes they're playing against in college. So Curious Tonga, one of those guys. Shout out to him. That dedication to his religion. Seems like he works really hard, and he survived in the NFL for 5 years, and that's pretty impressive. And on Sunday, he could be a Super Bowl champion. Kayvon Chason. This one's one of my favorites. For those of you who know, Kayvon Chason is from Houston. He is actually from he's from the second most dominant high school program in the entire city. So the first is obviously Katy High School that has produced 20 or 30 NFL players. North Shore is not too far behind them, and Kayvon Chason is one of the crazier stories. I think I called this the reverse Mike Evans. No. He has the same path as Mike Evans. It's the same way. So he's from Houston. He's from North Shore. If you guys don't know, North Shore is in this area of Houston called Galena Park, which kind of goes towards Beaumont that leads towards Louisiana from where Houston is. The other part is North Shore has a rival, which is Channelview High School. Channelview is where North Shore is located. Technically, in Galena Park ISD and Channelview, Texas is where these two schools are located. Channelview is where Jalen Hurts went to school. Kayvon Chason went to the much better funded, I think, as well, high school, North Shore. And Kayvon Chason is one of the crazier stories. I think it was the death of his father that stopped him from playing football. He initially was playing his freshman year. He took off a year. He came back for his junior season, and in the course of those 2 years, he ended up earning a scholarship. I think he was like a 4-star recruit by the time he finished high school. And he ended up earning his scholarship to LSU. He played on the Joe Burrow year of LSU football, and then he got drafted to the Jaguars, which is probably why he ended up on the Patriots, because Mike Vrabel will remember what it was like game planning for this dude, and he probably hated it. So Kayvon Chason is having his best season as a professional football player to date right now. And on Sunday, he got a chance to be a Super Bowl champion. Pretty dope. Anfernee Jennings, crazy story, Super Bowl-wise. He almost lost his leg when he was in college. So he was playing against Clemson. He's on Alabama. He's playing against Clemson, and he had a leg injury where his leg bent the way it wasn't supposed to. And a lot of people were like, PCL injury. He's going to be out for the season because he tore his PCL. And then a fan on Twitter sent a photo of an angle of Anfernee Jennings' injury that he hadn't seen before. He showed it to his trainer. His trainer was like, "Oh, we need to look at your leg right now." And it turns out the artery near his PCL had also been severed. And so there was like blood pooling in his leg. And that fan's picture helped them understand why that was happening. And it turns out, I think they said something like 8 to 10 hours. If 8 to 10 hours more had passed, he was going to have his leg amputated, and he wouldn't be playing on Sunday. So, crazy work. Anfernee Jennings, I think that fan earned a Super Bowl ring. Just saying, just putting it out there. If you win on Sunday, just putting it out there. Michael Onyewu, he played every single spot in the course of his 5 seasons in the NFL. He's played every single spot across the NFL, across the offensive line. Not many dudes can say that. Pretty impressive. Robert Spillane, UDFA to the Titans, got cut, balled out in Pittsburgh. Robert Spillane, and I put him on here because he was a UDFA out of college, and he was on the Tennessee Titans when he signed his UDFA contract. And then he got cut from the Titans. He went to Pittsburgh, became like their best linebacker for a year, and then moved on to the Patriots, which is the team that he's currently playing on right now. And he gets paid a lot of money to do that because he balled out in Pittsburgh. Crazier part about him, his grandfather is a former Heisman Trophy winner, just casually. 1953, Johnny Latner? Crazy work. But yeah, Robert Spillane. Who would have thought? Second generation NFL football player. Speaking of multi-generation football players, Joshua Dobbs. Yes, that Josh Dobbs, the guy who's famous for the fact that he played for Tennessee. He also has alopecia. He's also a rocket scientist, technically, because he was like an aeronautics space engineer when he was in college and stuff like that. The New England Patriots are Joshua Dobbs' 11th football team that he has played for in his NFL career. He was an intern for NASA at one point when he was with the Jaguars. He is a former Tennessee Titan under Mark Vrabel. He actually started, I want to say, like 3 games for Mike Vrabel, which is probably why he's on this team. His cousins are 2 people that I know, which is wild to say. Parker Washington and Ashton Washington. And their other cousin is Tyler Tolbert, who I think I also covered when they were in high school. Anyway, Tyler Tolbert plays for the Kansas City Royals. Parker Washington is, yes, that Parker Washington for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you're probably wondering who Ashton Washington is. And we're not cool just because we have the same first name. Ashton Washington is one of the first women to be a scout in the NFL. She's currently a scout for the Chicago Bears. Just had a really great season. But yeah, that is crazy. Joshua Dobbs is cousins to all 3 of those people. And I think black excellence on a lot of different levels. Shout out Parker Washington. Career high season, absolutely balled out of control. The back half of this year, he's really, honestly, it's been like a slow build up to what he's doing now. And then Ashton Washington, I've known her since she was playing high school basketball, which is cool. So she worked her way up from, in case you were wondering, she used to work for like Rivals as a scout. And then she worked her way all the way up to being an NFL scout. And a lot of it is due to the fact that Lovie Smith has a great appreciation for what she was able to do, because Lovie Smith signed her on as a part of the recruitment team for Illinois when he was the coach there. And then I think Lovie Smith is the guy who suggested her to the Chicago Bears, and that's how she ended up there. So I would love to have her on this podcast at some point, but I think there's like some things that she can't like really talk about on the show and stuff like that. But I talked to Ashton Washington, and Parker Washington follows me on TikTok. But yeah, Tyler Tolbert, I remember him as well. They all went to the same high. Well, Parker and Ashton went to another high school in this area that I used to cover called William B. Travis. And then Tyler, if I'm not mistaken, went to Ridgepoint at some point during his career. Anyway, moving on. Austin Hooper. He's a former Tennessee Titan, and he's also black somehow. You look at the photo, you tell me. Anyway, that's all I had on there. He does not look like a black man, but I'm not here to take his blackness away from him. Shout out to Austin Hooper. He is on this Patriots team because not only is he a good football player, but he was also a former Tennessee Titan and played really well for them. Stephon Diggs has lost both the AFC and NFC championship games. Remember, he lost with the Vikings, and then he also lost with the Vikings, and then he lost with the Bills. Super rare, right? He will be in court the day before Valentine's Day for assault charges, which is crazy. The story, as goes, is he's been accused of, and this is just the accusations from what I've read, his former in-house chef at his house was not happy with something happened. He attacked the chef, and the chef came back to get the money that she was owed. And they told her that she had to sign an NDA and she decided not to, and then she opened a lawsuit against Stephon Diggs, which, regardless of what happens on Sunday, seems like he's got court. Don't know if he's going to be there or not, but crazy way to spend the day before Valentine's Day before you go hang out with Cardi B. But nonetheless, that is Stephon Diggs' life. He could be a Super Bowl champion on Sunday, though. Moving on to the Seattle Seahawks, I got a bunch of stuff here. We're almost done with this. Elijah Arroyo, one of the tight ends for the Seattle Seahawks. He went to Independence High School, which is in Frisco, Texas. For some of you who know where that is just outside of Dallas. That is actually where the Dallas Cowboys practice facility is at. So that's how close it is to Dallas. Jared Ivey, who's a Seattle Seahawks player, projected to be a first rounder, but mostly was projected a third rounder in his process to getting into the NFL draft. And then he actually ended up just being a UDFA, and now he's playing in the Super Bowl. Signed with the Seahawks off of his UDFA contract. Jalen Milroe, some of you know why I'm excited and some of you don't. Jalen Milroe is from Houston, Texas, and he actually is from a suburb of Houston called Katy, Texas, which is they have 7 schools now? That's how big it is. It's basically its own city, but it is annexed into the city of Houston. And he went to one of the smaller schools called Tompkins. And in the history of Katy ISD, very few teams can ever brag that they were ever able to beat Katy High School. And Jalen Milroe was able to beat Katy High School as quarterback of Tompkins. And that means something to a lot of people in the Houston area. And that is definitely why he was an All-American coming out of high school, because of the skill level it takes to be able to do that at the quarterback position. Moving on, Mason Richmond, he committed as an offensive lineman for his recruitment process to Iowa, even though he hadn't played offensive line since middle school. So that was pretty tough. Now he's the backup right tackle for the Seattle Seahawks and competing for a Super Bowl. So Gray Zabel, who is the superstar left guard for the Seattle Seahawks, he is from South Dakota. Winning him would make him one of like 25 people in the history of the NFL who are from South Dakota who won the Super Bowl. So I don't have the exact number. I tried to look through it all. But I couldn't find an exact number, and I didn't have that time to click on all those links in Pro Football Reference. I'm not going to lie. But Gray Zabel, 25 people from South Dakota to win the Super Bowl. I know the most famous person from South Dakota to win the Super Bowl was Adam Vinatieri. So there you go. Ty Okada, this is really cool. I learned this earlier today. He has celiac disease. That is not the cool part. He has celiac disease, so he can't eat gluten, which is crazy considering what we know about what it takes to be an NFL player and ingesting of carbs and stuff like bread and other forms of carbohydrates and stuff like that. So for him to figure out how to be able to do that without being able to eat gluten is nothing short of amazing. Shout out to his dietitian. Shout out to his dedication to his diet as well. He was a college walk-on and then went from college walk-on to undrafted free agent to the Seahawks. His grandfather, he revealed this earlier at Super Week this week. His great-grandfather immigrated from Japan, which is why his name is Okada. His great-grandfather immigrated from Japan to Seattle and then to Minnesota. So it was like foretold all those years ago that he was going to get it. George Haloni, I've talked about him on this podcast before. I met his brother at one point here in Houston, and apparently George has 11 siblings, and he'd be one of the few people who was from New Zealand to win a Super Bowl championship with the Seattle Seahawks. Or he's from New Zealand. He was born in Auckland, New Zealand, and he'd be one of the few people who were ever from New Zealand to win the Super Bowl. He also has 11 siblings. Crazy work. Tyrese Knight, some of you are very familiar with him. Some of you are not. Tyrese Knight went to a little school called Independence Community College. If you know what that is, yes, that is the school from Last Chance U. And yes, Tyrese Knight was in that show way back in the day, and now he's competing for a Super Bowl. It's pretty dope. Byron Murphy II, he is from a powerhouse high school called DeSoto, Texas. That's where Von Miller went to school. For those of you who are Houston or Texas football adjacent, who are part of the Mafia, Texas high school football Mafia.
I think, it's Von Miller that went to DeSoto. DeSoto has produced so many NFL and high-level college football players. Byron Murphy, who's the defensive tackle for the Seattle Seahawks, is one of those guys, and he could be a Super Bowl champion pretty soon here. Patrick O'Connell. I was going to do it in the Irish voice, but maybe some people will find that disrespectful. Patrick O'Connell went to college for baseball. He gave up his baseball scholarship to play for Montana, which is, by the way, one of the biggest D2 programs in the country. Like, people are hyped about Montana football. I think Destroying or AJ Green, who are the two biggest football content creators on YouTube, went to a Montana football game, and it felt like they were at the big house on a Saturday. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, Patrick O'Connell gave up his baseball scholarship to go out there and compete for Montana football, and it panned out because a couple of days he's going to be potentially a Super Bowl champion. Jalen Sundell. He has a sister named Serena Sundell. Jalen Sundell got drafted in 2024. His sister got drafted in 2025. She's a WNBA player for one season and ended up playing for the Dallas Wings at one point after she got cut from the Seattle Storm, and now she plays overseas in EuroLeague basketball. So she's a hooper. Anyway, Jalen Sundell, offensive lineman for the Seattle Seahawks, super dope to have that kind of level of athleticism in his household. Obviously, makes for a competitive environment, I think some would say. But yeah, moving on. Derek Hall was sorry, I gotta say this right. Derek Hall, player for the Seattle Seahawks, got a chance to be a Super Bowl champion on Sunday, which is kind of crazy considering he was born dead. So Derek Hall was born 4 months premature. He had brain bleeding and a series of other issues that led to him being placed on life support. And his mom was told by the doctors while he was in the hospital on life support that they should pull life support because of his quality of life, because they thought he was going to be permanently a vegetable. I don't think it worked out that way. Anyway, he's playing for the Super Bowl on Sunday. So, shout out Derek Hall. Brandon Peely, that last name sounds a little familiar if you're a women's basketball fan. Yes, it is. He is the older brother of Alyssa Peely, the former WNBA player who now plays overseas. I think it's China. Anyway, she plays Euroball. She was playing for the Minnesota Lynx for a little while. She got drafted in the first round, which means absolutely nothing in the WNBA. If you guys don't know, being drafted in the first round means that you have a guaranteed invitation to training camp. That's pretty much it. Not even a guaranteed invitation to finish training camp, because there's a lot of times where people get like halfway through camp and they cut first-round picks, which is why the WNBA players are pushing for bigger rosters, more money. Moving on. Jackson Smith and Jigba, JSN, my favorite news network, is from Nacogdoches, Texas. If you guys know, Nacogdoches High School has one of the more unique high school mascots. If you don't know, I'll share with you. Nacogdoches High School has a high school mascot, the Unicorns. That is not where JSN went to school. He went to a different high school. I just wanted to share. When I get an opportunity to share that the Nacogdoches High School mascot is Unicorn, I cannot pass up on it. Anyway, in his early years, Jackson Smith and Jigba went by Jackson Smith, and then he added Njigba to his surname upon reaching high school to honor his grandfather, John, after he died in 2014. John had changed his name to Smith in the most immigrant story to America reason possible. He just wanted to fit in. So now, Jackson Smith and Jigba going to fit out on Sunday and possibly be a Super Bowl champion and bring great honor to his grandfather regardless. No doubt. Guy was a beast when he was at Ohio State. He's been a beast in the NFL. He actually led the league in receiving. And as of a couple days ago, he won Offensive Player of the Year. So yeah, shout out John and Jigba for doing his thing and paving the way for Jackson Smith and Jigba to be the great athlete that he is today. Shout out to him. Moving on. Kobe Bryant. On my notes, it says yes and yes, because I already know this story because I pay way too much attention to football. Kobe Bryant. Yes, he's named after Kobe Bryant. But his name is spelled C-O-B-Y Bryant. Regular Bryant, C-O-B-Y for Kobe. His older brother is Christian Bryant. And he was an NFL player too. The other thing about Kobe Bryant's jersey number is, anyone? The number 8. Yes, for that reason. Kobe Bryant's original number. Anyway, moving on. Abraham Lucas, one of the coolest stories in the Super Bowl. Not many people are ever going to experience what this is like on any level. Abraham Lucas, starting tackle for the Seattle Seahawks. He grew up 30 minutes away from Seattle, like the city itself. He went to Washington State for college. His high school teammate is Kyle Gordon, who's one of the safeties for the Chicago Bears. He is living the dream because on Sunday, he has an opportunity to play for his favorite NFL football team and win a Super Bowl for the hometown team, and then have a chance to go and possibly be in a parade in his hometown. Crazy work, bro. Crazy stuff, man. Wild how football works out that way sometimes. Rashid Shaheed, who is a superstar kick returner, wide receiver, watch for the Saints, got traded midseason to the Seattle Seahawks. Everyone in his family ran track. His mom, his dad, his 2 sisters all ran track, including Rashid Shaheed. He had a scholarship to go to USC, and for the sake of playing football, he elected to not go to USC so he can go to Weber State. Yes, that Weber State where Damian Lillard is from. And he was an All-American all 4 years, the only player to ever do such a thing in the history of their school. He was an All-American all 4 years, and now he's got a chance to be a Super Bowl champion on Sunday. Reek Woolen, if you guys don't know, one of the few TikToks that's ever kind of taken off for me as a TikToker, content creator, if you will, was about Reek Woolen. So I'll tell the story from the top. Reek Woolen is from Texas. He went to UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio. He started off as a wide receiver and then was told that he needs to convert to playing defensive back. He's a 6'4" wide receiver who runs really fast at the time. They're like, you need to be a DB. He doesn't want to do it. And then in the course of that happening, he goes, 2020 happens. Global pandemic, right? He finds a trainer for the first time in his NFL football career, and it's a guy who plays Arena League football at defensive back. Plus, this dude, like I said, had never had a trainer before. The other part of it is he comes back, he dominates. After the COVID season kind of lets college football start up again, all that kind of stuff like that. He goes into the draft process. Everybody's obsessed with him because they're like, is it true that this 6'4" guy can run a 4.3? And it turns out that 6'4" guy could run a 4.3. And he also plays defensive back. So yes, what you are witnessing from Reek Woolen, the guy who got burned by Puka Nacua in the NFC Championship game, despite almost intercepting him the play before and shutting down pretty much every wide receiver who was put in front of him every play before that, is a guy who is in his 4th year of playing defensive back. Yeah, no big deal. No big deal. Whatever. Converting to DB is insane to do in college, let alone make that what you do when you go to the NFL. And that's how good Reek is at playing football. Derek Young, who is on track to potentially being the first Super Bowl champion in Lenoir-Rhyne history. Lenoir-Rhyne is strangely enough, there have only been 2 players drafted out of Lenoir-Rhyne in like 40 years. And they're both in the NFL right now. One of them is Kyle Duggar, who used to play for the Patriots. And then he got traded to the Steelers. So it would have been, if things had held up and they both made it and they hadn't got traded away, it would have been 2 guys from Lenoir-Rhyne who were playing against each other in the Super Bowl, which would have guaranteed one of them will be the first Super Bowl champion in the history of their college. So that's not happening. Derek Young, who's a wide receiver. If you don't know, Derek Young is the guy who has like the crazy, insane, like bodybuilder type physique as a wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. He looks like a tight end. I'm not going to lie. Anyway, Josh Jones, offensive lineman for the Seattle Seahawks. He's on this list because I know him. I used to cover Josh Jones when he was in high school. So I've seen him since he was like a sophomore or something like sophomore, junior. And it's been a wild ride paying attention. I follow him on Instagram and every other platform possible. I think I even follow him on Facebook and he just doesn't post or whatever. But I talk to him every once in a while. It is amazing to see that he is now competing for the Super Bowl. And it was pretty dope for me the entire run for the playoffs, because at one point he got hurt, and it was a pretty big deal, because like a lot of, I know Rashawn Slater as well, who he's a left tackle for the Chargers, and so to see him and Josh go down right around the same time was kind of brutal. But nonetheless, Josh Jones, he's from Houston. He went to George Bush High School. His coach, sadly, very recently passed away. His coach is Alan Aldridge, who used to play for the Denver Broncos, and he passed away a couple of years ago under mysterious circumstances, and he was a Super Bowl champion as well. So I can't imagine how proud he would have been to see Josh compete for the biggest and best trophy in all of football. So moving on, Michael Dixon, the punter for the Seattle Seahawks, he's a former Aussie Rules football player. And now he's just like a crazy, insane punter in the NFL. He can blast it. So he has an impact on pretty much every game he's ever involved in. And when the Seahawks are not having a great time, don't worry. They can always count on Michael Dixon to put that ball inside the 10-yard line for the opponent. So have an idea that that's probably going to happen. So we got, hold on, let me count it real quick. We got four more people. We got 4 people left on this breakdown. 4 people left on this one. A couple of them are super important. Actually, every single one of these guys is super important because, like I said, nobody's path is a straight line. But I will say some of these stories are crazy. Eric Sobert, he has played for 11 NFL football teams, and in those 11 teams, he has caught 51 passes in his NFL career. And on Sunday, he could be a Super Bowl champion without catching a single one. Moving on, Cooper Kupp is on the verge of doing something that I don't think anybody else is ever going to do. So Cooper Kupp is one of 5 third-generation NFL players in the history of the NFL. He would become the 65th player in the NFL to win the Super Bowl with multiple teams. Combine that with the fact that he was NFL Offensive Player of the Year. He was also Super Bowl MVP the year that he won the Super Bowl with the Rams. And it's just hard to come up with any player who has anything close to that in the history of the league. And when you look at all of it, it seems like Cooper Kupp just got here. Hasn't been that long of a span of his career. He's already done like so much, a ridiculous amount. Moving on, Jaron Reed. He's a defensive tackle. Honestly, probably one of the best defensive linemen for the Seahawks overall. He was in East Mississippi Community College before he made it to the NFL. And some of you, that name sounds a little familiar. It's because, yes, that is the original school from Last Chance U, the Netflix show. And yes, he was on that show. And now he's going to potentially be a Super Bowl champion. That's pretty dope. Jason Myers, Division I FCS, Marist College is where he started his career. He is the greatest kicker in Seattle Seahawks history. Literally most makes, most points scored, most touchbacks, and pretty much any kicking statistic other than misses. Jason Myers is number 1 in that one. And you have to wonder, do you walk off into the sunset after you win the Super Bowl? You're the GOAT for a team and one of the best kickers in the NFL. Do you call it dunzo when it's all said and done? One of my favorite stories for the NFL, just in general, because it's been a lot of years in the making, but for the Super Bowl, it feels so much more resonant. Leonard Williams, defensive lineman, they call him the Big Cat for a reason. He used to play for the Jets and the Giants. His wife is who he credits with a lot of his success. Her name is Haley Lott. And some of you are wondering, man, that's a weird last name. Yes, her name is L-O-T-T. She is Ronnie Lott's daughter. And most importantly, she's a person who specializes and focuses on wellness and meditation. She inspired Leonard Williams to attend a group meditation session, retreat, if you will, where he was able to address some of the resentment, some of the struggles that he had gone through in his youth with what had happened with his father and some senses of abandonment, and kind of find a path forward and moving on into a next stage of his life. She helps him with his daily understanding of his mentality and trying to adjust it so that he can go out there and be the best person that he can be. And most importantly, and I say most importantly, one of the coolest things was after they won the NFC Championship game, the Seattle Seahawks did, two of the photos that went most viral were Leonard Williams kissing his wife's pregnant belly and then lifting her up and kissing her while the confetti fell around them. Like literally movie type stuff. And Haley Lott has had a huge impact on Leonard Williams as a person. And you don't see that too often. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people claim to be wife guys, and Leonard Williams may be the best wife guy in the NFL. That's all I'm saying. So that's pretty dope, man. Moving on, DeMarcus Lawrence, who has 12 years. He is tied for the most tenured player in the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. And I just put him on this list because I, as a person from Texas, who's a Houston Texans fan and also roots for the Seahawks, I felt it very important that I point out something very important about DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence has played 12 years in the NFL. 11 of them were with the Dallas Cowboys. One of them is with the Seattle Seahawks, and he is now going to the Super Bowl. Sometimes, sometimes that's what it comes down to. Sometimes it comes down to just not playing with that star on your helmet, and your whole life can turn around. Think about that, guys. Anyway, that's all I got on that. And that's all I got for all these players that I looked up a bunch of random shit about. Don't know how many people are going to make it all the way to the end of that. I'm going to try and cut a bunch of clips out of that one, no matter how bad they look. But let's talk about the game, man. I'm going to be honest with you. You guys already know who I'm picking, right? I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to go out here and fucking body the Patriots. So my biggest thing is, and I feel like in the back of my head, I mentioned at the top of the show when I was being like super honest. You know what I mean? And I'll mention it here. There's an aspect of this game that I know that the Patriots are not going to come out here and get absolutely embarrassed because Mike Vrabel, too smart. You know what I mean? Mike Vrabel, too smart, too talented to be able to pull to be destroyed like that. On top of that, the Patriots, too smart, too talented in terms of players to get destroyed like that. What I think will be the determining factor is the Seahawks will be able to control the clock at any given point. The Patriots play really great run defense. Kenneth Walker is a running back on a level that they have not seen this season. And I think that is going to be the determining factor when it's all said and done. When they get the run established, which is something that Mike McDonald is a big, big believer in, it allows for Sam Darnold to be able to throw the ball down the field and go out there and cook. Even when they turn the ball over, I still believe that the Seahawks, with their control of the clock, will be more successful than the Patriots in terms of scoring overall. We've also seen what the Patriots have looked like when they go up against some of the best defenses in the NFL. They looked pretty bad versus the Texans. If it wasn't for the fact that the Texans gave them the ball 5 extra times, they looked pretty bad versus the Denver Broncos, despite the fact that they were able to actually, it felt like the Broncos played the type of football they normally play, and the Patriots were able to edge it out because the Broncos couldn't come up with the gimmies that they need. Not even the gimmies. They couldn't come up with the small margin plays that they need to be successful. The Seahawks, I can sit here and say, overall are better than the Texans. I can sit here and say are overall better than the Broncos because they have a balanced football team. Yes, the defense is better, but the offense is somewhere in the area of being an above average to very good offense when it's all said and done. And that you can't say that the Patriots have played a team of that caliber throughout the course of this year. This is not like beef with the Patriots. I couldn't care less. I'm not a person that is a hater of winners. To a certain degree. And I think the Patriots have always been, when they were on their run, I think that's what's really stopping people from being like, this thing is just going to fall apart like instantaneously. It's because there's still the remnants of the past, the ghost of the past, if you will, that are still lurking around in the minds of all the fans and potentially some of the players. And sometimes that can be good and sometimes that can be bad. All I know is ain't no ghost making no tackles. Ain't no ghost throwing bombs. Ain't no ghost picking off balls. It's the players on the field that I just spent like an hour and a half telling you about all the crazy backstories about how they all got here. It is the games that led up to this game that are going to be vastly important. It is the games that the Patriots have played against teams that are not necessarily all that good leading up to this as well. It is the intelligence of Mike McDonald to be one of the few coaches in the NFL to dismantle on multiple occasions people who are from the Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay tree throughout the course of this season, a tree that most people consider to be the most fruitful in the NFL. It is Mike Vrabel being not only a person that clearly can elevate the level of play of his players through what they believe in him and the expectations he has for them, but on top of that, has a pretty good eye for talent. But I still think the Seahawks are more talented when it's all said and done. Hour and 40 into the show. I'm done rambling. You got to go. You know what I mean? You got stuff to do. Because if you're watching this on a Friday, it's 7:18. It's about time to go party. About time to go turn up. What I do have to say, other than, this is what I was going to say. Since we're talking about the Super Bowl, I'll talk about this. Hey, man, I saw that video with Eric Dickerson being like, hey, man, why is it the Super Bowl being played by somebody who's local, which is the first, like, by the way, never heard more people clamoring for local San Francisco artists more than when Bad Bunny was announced as the halftime show. Bad Bunny is coming off a historic run. He is currently holder of the Album of the Year, according to the Grammy Academy. And I'm going to be honest with you, I listen to many Bad Bunny songs. I'm not going to sit here and say I listen to it on a regular basis because, quite frankly, I don't listen to music on a regular basis. I spend most of my time trying to absorb knowledge about sports so that I can come on this podcast and sound knowledgeable. But the fact of the matter is, Bad Bunny, when I do get a chance to listen to music, is one of the few people that I do listen to. And he is one of the people that has the ability to resonate, regardless of language. Fucking bangers, bro. And I think a lot of people who even speak Spanish will tell you that, if you know, because Bad Bunny actually doesn't. Bad Bunny kind of raps in nonsensical Spanish at certain times. Anyway, I'm sorry to break it to you. It's gonna happen on Sunday, and it's gonna be fucking sick. It's gonna do numbers. Like, Bad Bunny is a global icon, and there's just gonna be a lot of old curmudgeon-y people who are just gonna be upset about it. And on top of that, you need some culture. Like, I don't know how to tell you this, but the last couple years has really educated me on how much we all need to understand that this is a big, big world out there. And Bad Bunny is a big part of it. Let's see. Oh, man, I start talking about Bad Bunny. All of a sudden, somebody got a comment. Hold on a second. Let's see. Bad Bunny. I'm trying to read your comment, bro. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. I'm actually trying to scrub it over to the side, and it's not working. Hold on. Let me see this. Damn, dude. What does it say? I'm trying to shrink everything, and it won't work. It says the only issue I have is him telling Americans to learn Spanish. So I'll say this much. That mostly came off like it was a fucking joke. I'm not even going to lie to you. The other part is that Bad Bunny, being Puerto Rican, and I'll tell you this much right now. If you're a person from Houston, shit, man. If you're a person from Texas, and you don't know, like, a little bit of Spanish, bro, what is you doing? Like, and I get it. You know, we have the Midwest. We have other parts of the country. We have the Pacific Northwest. We have other parts of the country. We have Vermont and Maine and stuff like that. But as a Houstonian, not knowing Spanish, you can't really claim yourself that you're a Houstonian. I don't really have a problem with you telling somebody else they got to learn a different. It is crazy, bro. I just said Bad Bunny's name, and like more people are in the chat. But his music is all right. Mr. G Fetty out there. I think that you know what. One thing I'll say this, Mr. G Fetty out there while you watching. You know what Bad Bunny's music do? And this is how you determine if songs are bangers or not. Bad Bunny get the pretty girls dancing. I can't even lie to you. I've seen it many times before, and I hope to see it many times again. And this is coming from a man who is in a committed and healthy, lovely relationship. Bad Bunny get the booty shaking. And I think we, as human beings, can all appreciate that. You know? And like I say, I opened this show saying thank you to everybody who tunes into this one. But when pretty ladies dance, and obviously there's pretty men and all that kind of stuff like too, you know what I mean? It's the beats. See, Mr. G Fetty get it. He understand. It's the beats and it's the raps and it's the songs too. He get the hips moving. You know what I mean? I know as a person, I grew up going to a high school that was mostly Hispanic, right? I grew up going to a high school that was like literally 98% Hispanic. So I didn't have a choice. When I went to dances and when I went to different school dances and stuff like that, you had to listen to the good stuff. You know what I mean? And look, man, that's how I got into it. I can't really diss nobody else. But nonetheless, Bad Bunny is a talented musician. You know what I mean? But I think Mr. G Fetty's got a point. The beats be popping and the songs be bangers. And I think we can all appreciate that. And on Sunday, that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are going to gain appreciation for what Bad Bunny's music does to the soul and the rhythm of very pretty people that are around them. So, other than that, man, y'all sound soft. Like, I just like Javi more. I'm not even gonna lie, I don't even know who that is. And if it's another name attached to that, I can't see it because of the way my screen is set up, bro. I'm sorry. Bro or madam. Which, you know, bro's universal. Bro is unisex. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to Super Bowl Sunday. It's gonna be fucking sick. If you're in the chat right now, let me know who you got winning the Super Bowl and why, and I'll stick around a little bit longer because we're doing a stream or whatever. But for the most part, man, I've been seeing a lot of people act real old and real soft about Bad Bunny singing some songs for Super Bowl Sunday, man. Because also there's just like a group of people who get off on complaining. There's the other halftime show that's going on that I'm sure some people are going to be listening to, but really what it turned into me was a list of country music artists that I used to listen to that I will not be listening to anymore. So, you know, most of the guys who are doing that show they got a couple bangers, but not enough for me to be like, you know, going out of my way to listen to them like I used to. Anyway, like I said before, I got the Seahawks just because I feel like the overall, the team quality is just overall a lot higher. We can talk about the little details and all that kind of stuff like that, but I believe the team that controls the run game is going to win this game when it's all said and done. Yes, I have been told 50 billion fucking times this week about that one time the Seahawks decided to pass the ball when they probably should have ran it. But I digress. Anyway, have a good time. What are you guys going to do for Super Bowl snacks? I actually think I'm just going to watch with my girlfriend because my best friend's sick right now, and I'm really not trying to get sick. As a broke boy, I can't afford sick days. So, you know, that's the name of the podcast for a reason. It is true to life and something we hope to not be anymore. Anyway, shout out to everybody for joining in and hopping in the chat. I really appreciate it. If you look at the podcast leading up to this, it is just a series of facts about a ton of players on both of the rosters that will make you a little bit more invested in the game because a lot of players come from crazy backgrounds to get to the point where they are now. That's pretty much what the whole show is. I didn't want to get too crazy deep into like the football stuff overall just because I feel like every episode leading up to this has been way too in-depth in football. I'm out of here. I think it's time for me to deuce out as well. Have a good time. Drink some water. Tell the people in your life that you love them. And I'm out.